Hey gaming fans, so today's another Yu-Gi-Oh deck profile, and this one is a Pendulum, well, normal Pendulum deck, with a little bit of Tenye in it. So this deck, I've built it before, but now that the new, February 2020 ban list came out and changed things around, I was able to kind of go back and build this deck the way I wanted it. So anyways, let's get to the build and I'll explain the choices. So, we do have some Tenyes in here, so I just put in, because we're dealing with a lot of normal monsters, the Tenye monsters are just there to help out. So this one is, if you control no effect monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand, and when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a face-up non-effect monster you control, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. You can only use it once per turn. So this is kind of like your hand trap of the deck, so that's the 3 of the Tenye Map Bureau, so I play 3 of those. I just like that it can, has that little bit of a hand trap feel. Then we got the Tenye Spirit Natha, which is same idea. If you control no effect monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. When an attack is declared involving a face-up non-effect monster and an opponent's face-up monster, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard, and your opponent loses your opponent's monster loses 1500 attack. So it's kind of like an honest in a way, sort of. And then we got the Vishuddha. So if you control no effect monsters, special summon this card from your hand. And if you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard, then target one card your opponent controls and return it to hand. So very useful card. It could come in handy. So that's the only Tenye, effect monsters I have in the deck. Outside of having some in the extra deck. But the main focus of this deck is the normal Pendulum. So we got one Flash Knight. I used to play a play set of this, but I bumped it down to just the one because I figure you only really need one. He doesn't do much. You usually need him for his pendulum scale, so he's a 7 pendulum scale. But he's a nice 1800 beat stick if you just need to start off the game with just something on the field. You got that. Then I got one Vector Pendulum, the Draco Overlord. So he's a Pendulum Scale 3, and then his Pendulum effect is negate all card effects on your opponent's Pendulum zones. So this could come in handy when your opponent's trying to play that Magician Pendulum deck. And he's, 1850 body if you need to special summon him to the field or whatever, or just normal summon him. He's a level 4. I don't know if I have any more copies of this guy. Maybe I would bump this up just because of the popularity of the Magician's Pendulum deck, but it's up to you. So then we got another level 4 Master Pendulum, the Draco Slayer. I play 2 copies of this one. So once while this card is in the Pendulum Zone, you can target one card in a Pendulum Zone and destroy it. Again, good to go up against those other Pendulum decks. And he's 1950 body, so pretty good. Nice attack, pretty decent. Then to round off the last of the level 4s, I got 3 of the Dragoons of Draconia. So this is once per turn. If a normal monster you control destroys an opponent's monster by battle, after damage calculation you can add 1 level 4 or higher normal monster from your deck to your hand. So really good. Pendulum scale of 2. I like how all these are like normal monsters that have effects essentially. It's just as long as they're in the Pendulum scale. And so it's good to have the 2 to 7 varieties there because you want to be able to Pendulum summon everything in this deck when you have the chance. Then for the higher up level monsters, we have 3 of the Full Cults Cannon. So this is basically it's an MST on legs. During your end phase, if this card is activated this turn, you can target one face-up spell or trap card on the field and destroy it. Unfortunately, it is face-up, so if they have face-down. But you might go after some of their other, more deadlier stuff that might be face up on the field. It's just a nice to have. Then, of course, it's got the Pendulum Scale 2, and it's a 2200 attacker, so that's the other reason. Then we have 3 Sky Dragoons of Draconia. This is a, Pendulum of 7. And then once per turn, you can normal summon, when a normal monster you control inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you could target one card on the field and destroy it. Really cool effect there. You just start, just destroying your opponent's cards. And then we got one Man Dragon. Probably, I think I just put this in because, you know, he's got the 2500 attack, so nice beat stick. And he's got the 2 on there. He doesn't have any pendulum effect, but just a nice beater, you know, 2500 attack, and he's got the 2 scale. And then we got one of the Dragon Horn Hunter. So he's a 3 scale. All normal monsters gain 200 attack. You take no battle damage from battles involving normal monsters you control. So, you know, your opponent can't really OTK you by running over your monsters. It's okay. And then we have the last 2 monsters, the Lancefisner. I'm not even going to say that. That's a weird name. But 7 is the pendulum scale, and if a normal monster you control attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing. So they can't hide under scapegoats or anything like that. You'll run right through them. He's also a 2500, and he's a level 6. So, I mean, you can get all these guys out through your pendulum scales because your pendulums go up to 7. So, then for the spells, we got 3 of the Summoner's Art. Essentially your Rhoda of the deck. You can add 1 level 5 or higher normal monster from your deck to your hand. So this was really good for helping you complete your scale. If you don't have a 7 or if you don't have a 2, whatever you need, you grab that and then you complete your scale. Then we have 1 Pot of Desires. This card didn't exist in my original build. You know, it's an iffy card. I'm still thinking about whether I want to keep it in here or not. Just thinking about draw power. And now that it's limited to 1, you know, why not just throw it in? You know, there is a danger that if you do banish too many of the, you know, certain scale number, you might not be able to pendulum summon. So you got to be a little bit careful with this card. But I think it's just to help you get more cards into your hand. Then we got 2 Vessel for the Dragon Cycle. So this is a worm card. Send 1 worm monster from your deck to your graveyard. Then you can, if you control a non-effect monster, which you most likely will, you could add from your deck to your hand 1 Tenye monster with a different name from the one that you sent to the graveyard. So that just helps get your Tenye cards into your hand and 1 into the graveyard, because they could both be used from either your hand or graveyard. Then we got 3 Flawless Perfection of the Tenye. This is a field spell. All non-effect monsters on the field are unaffected by monster effects. So that's really good because, you know, this current meta game, like most effects are done through monster effects. So makes all your normal pendulum guys unaffected by your opponent's monster effects. Once per turn, if your opponent special summons an effect monster while you control a face down monster or a non-effect monster, which is most of all of your monsters except your tennies, you can draw 2 cards. So this is also some draw power. You know, unfortunately it's only once per turn, so you can't, it's not like a max C where you're just going to keep drawing, but you know, still getting 2 cards in your hand off a field spell that's also giving you a good effect is really good. Then we got 2 Monarch Stormforth. I used to play 3 in here, but I had to take 1 out to make room for another card. But really good, you know, that you could just tribute any of your opponent's monsters off. You do play a wide range of monsters that do require tribute if you want to normal summon them. So, you know, just getting rid of your opponent's monster, if they have a negate monster or something on the field, you could just, like, tribute it off and then normal summon one of your monsters. Now for the traps, the newly unrestricted Skill Drain. We had this at 1 before. I've been waiting for this card to come back forever. I always play Skill Drain, even when I play GOAT format. I love Skill Drain. One of my favorite cards. I just like it, just the way it works. But it's a total bummer for anybody else who is playing like effect monsters. But because all your monsters that you're pretty much going to summon are normal monsters who have pendulum effects when they're in the pendulum zone, Skill Drain does nothing to them. I know there is like probably a few decks that are not too scared of this card, but a lot of them probably are. So Skill Drain at 3 really helps the deck. Then we got 3 Fists of the Unrivaled Tenyi. This card's really cool. I like this. When a spell, a trap card, or a monster effect is activated while you control a face-up non-effect monster, negate the activation, and then if this set card you control is destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can special summon 1 non-effect monster from your extra deck. So pretty much if they MST this thing, you're going to get a monster. Now you have to keep in mind though, this doesn't destroy the card, which is a downside. So when they activate something, you're just negating it. So then we got Metaverse, which is the last card, and that's literally just to grab your Flawless Perfection of the Tenyi, just so you can, you know, make sure that you're protecting your monsters, and you can draw some cards. So that's the main deck. And then we go to the extra deck. So I don't plan on going into extra deck too often in this deck, but there is options here. So we have Berserker of the Tenyi. You know, he's a 2 monsters, including a Link monster. Link 3 monster, but, you know, he's a worm. And he's got no effect, which is good. Monk of the Tenyi, again, just 1 non-Link Tenyi monster. So you can just, you know, summon a Tenyi monster and then go into this guy. And then you could use this guy plus others to go into this guy. So, and then I threw in 1 Defender of the Labyrinth, 2 normal monsters. Non-effect monsters you control gain 500 attack. Also, effect monsters your opponent controls loses 500 attack. So, you know, this one, you might pull it out, you might not. And then if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by your opponent's card, you can target 1 non-effect monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So, I mean, that might happen. Most of these Pendulum cards will go to your extra deck when they die, but, you know, who knows. And then I throw in a Borreload. I mean, you could throw in whatever you want at this point. Like I said, I don't think this deck really is depending on the extra deck too much. But I do have 2 of the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Reason being is for your Fists of the Unraveled Tenyi. You know, if you set this card and then your opponent destroys it, you get to special summon a non-effect monster from your extra deck. So this is like, you know, 4,500 attack, and he has no effect. So you can special summon him through that effect if your opponent goes to destroy it. You could really catch somebody off guard with that. Then we have some standard Xyz monsters, so 101 Silent Arc, Daigusto Emerald, Abyss Dweller, you know, just things that help you throughout Gaga Cowboy. Again, you're probably not going to go too much into Xying or extra deck cards, but, you know, just in case you need to, the option is there. And, of course, we do play some 5s, so I threw in Volcasaurus, which destroys a monster and then deals damage to the opponent, and Adrius, which just destroys a face-up card your opponent controls. Again, nice to just go into it, and then, you know, if you summon these, you could overlay with Gaia Dragon, the Thunder Charger, so now you can go and attack and do some damage, piercing damage. Then we have 2 6s, because we are playing some level 6. I mean, there's, I think, 3 in the deck, you know, so it's still possible to go into this guy. But, you know, you might not have to. Anyways, yeah, that's the deck. That's the build. You know, really the changes is getting the 3 skill drain. You know, because when I first built this, that's what I really thought about, was this deck would be so much better with 3 skill drains, because it's just takes advantage of the fact that all your monsters are normal. Anyways, hope you liked the deck. Let me know what you think. Throw some comments down below. Hope you subscribe. Talk to you later.